Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our 2020 Out of the Darkness kickoff. I know some of you guys were on the team captain kickoff last week, last week. I meant Tuesday. And it's good to see your faces again. I see some other familiar faces who aren't necessarily team captains, but are registered participants in some of the areas that I work in. So welcome. I'm very glad to have you here today. My name is Jane Wisnant, and I'm the AFSP Area Director for Central and West Texas. I'm joined tonight by Sarah Allen, the Area Director for North Texas and Oklahoma. And not able to be with us tonight is Cami Hazim. She's the Area Director for South and Southeast Texas, and she's not with us tonight because she's actually planning the San Antonio experience with her volunteers. First things first, I want to thank you. We are so grateful for all of our volunteers all the time, our walk chairs, our committee, our team captains, walkers, and our community partners, but especially this year. We are also appreciative that all of you are willing to take on the role of fundraising and support for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's mission, and when our mission needs the support more than ever. So I want to talk about something that a lot of you have probably been wondering, and I want to talk about what is an out of the darkness experience. First, I'm going to get started by reading this quote by Bruce Lee. "You must be shapeless, formless like water. When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. When you pour water in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can drip and it can crash. Become like water, my friend." So what this quote is talking about is it's talking about being adaptable. We've seen a lot of change this year, and with that change comes adaptation. And with your safety being our top priority, we've decided to transform our Out of the Darkness community walks, which you are also familiar with, to our Out of the Darkness experiences this fall. But what does that mean? All of our walks in Texas are going to look a little bit different this year, and across the country too. But our mission has not changed. We are still here to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide, and we are still here for you. And so we've changed our events so that we can still be together to fight suicide. And we are still walking. Most of our events are asking you to walk in your neighborhood or in a community park near you. But what about our beads? What about our t-shirts for raising $150? Are we still able to get those? Are we still able to do memorial activities? And what about the resources that AFSP offers that we normally get at the community walks? Each of your walk locations across the state will be doing something different. Some are doing drive-thrus, some are doing pop-up locations. Whatever your community is doing, register for the event near you if you haven't already, and you'll learn what details are happening in your community. And when you register for an experience near you, you're getting a 2-for-1 deal. On October 17th, we are hosting the Texas Experience. When you register for your local Out of the Darkness experience, you are also registering for the Texas Together Experience. The Texas Together Experience is an online event that will have all of the components of an opening ceremony and more. In addition to the online ceremonies on the 17th, there will be other engagement opportunities leading up to the 17th, including events like this one that you're currently participating, as well as free education programs, social media campaigns to show our state that we are together to fight suicide, and more. So again, if you haven't already registered, please go find an event near you now at afsp.org/Texas. We will be updating all of the event websites frequently and sending emails frequently as new engagements are announced. So be sure to check your email and the website often. So why else should you register? AFSP is dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide. AFSP creates a culture that's smart about mental health by engaging in the following core strategies: funding scientific research, which we are the largest private funder of suicide prevention research, educating the public about mental health and suicide prevention. We've provided more free education programs since COVID-19 has started than ever before. Advocating for public policies and mental health and suicide prevention. We have advocates across the country and over 1,000 advocates right here in Texas advocating for policy change that furthers our mission and encourages lawmakers to make mental health as big a priority as physical health. Supporting survivors of suicide loss and those affected by suicide is part of our mission as well. We have programs like Healing Conversations and the International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day that invites people and loss survivors to connect with one another. And we keep administrative costs low. Our administrative cost is below the industry standard of 25%, with 84.3% of all of our expenses going directly into programs. If you've decided to join us for an Out of the Darkness experience, then you're probably already familiar with the work that AFSP does. However, I encourage everyone to practice your AFSP elevator speech. And if you are on the call on Tuesday, then you've heard this already. But an elevator speech is, if you can imagine getting on an elevator on the first floor, could you tell the person in the elevator with you what AFSP does before you get to the third floor? Okay, so let's dive into some fundraising. And if you were on our call on Tuesday, some of these tips may look familiar, but the difference is that these tips are geared towards your individual fundraising versus your team fundraising. So my number one tip for everyone fundraising is to get personal. Always remember your why. Why are you supporting suicide prevention? And why is this cause important to you? Why did you register? Sharing your story means sharing how or why you got connected to AFSP. Maybe it's a loss, a personal struggle, or you're committed to ending the stigma around mental health. The best way to inspire people to make a donation is to share your story. It's true. Sharing your story can save lives, show people that they aren't alone, and that recovery is possible. But let's talk about how, sorry, your faces are right over my notes. I gotta move your faces for a second. There we go. So let's talk about how we can make sure we're doing it safely. Oops. Here are some basic do's and don'ts for speaking out about suicide. Be at a safe place in your own recovery. Reflect on your own frame of mind and consider waiting at least 1 year after the attempt or the loss before speaking to an audience. Define key messages and practice. A story should not simply express pain, but educate and inspire hope. Sharing your story can bring up some unexpected emotions, so make sure you practice and practice often. And emphasize the journey by talking about both before and after the loss or attempt, and how far you've come in your recovery. Include the full range of your experience. And some things to avoid. Don't use phrases like commit suicide or failed or successful attempt, as these phrases perpetuate suicide stigma and imply judgment. We prefer to use terms like ended one's life or died by suicide. Avoid referring to lethal means, meaning the details about a suicide method or the graphic descriptions can be triggering and can unintentionally cause contagion. Simplifying suicide by reducing the attempt or loss to a single cause fails to educate the public about the many warning signs and risk factors of suicide. And additionally, glorifying or portraying suicide as a romantic act can lead others to view suicide as a viable option, when suicide should never be a viable option. To learn more about safely sharing your story, we encourage you to attend one of our Talk Saves Lives trainings. During the month of September, we are offering these trainings for free every Thursday at noon. Your fundraising page will be the first thing that others see when they go to donate to you. So we want to let them know why this cause is so important and why they should donate right off the bat. So log into your donor drive fundraising portal and click your fundraising to manage and edit your page. Add pictures of yourself, loved ones, and memories from past walks. Include a video of yourself for support. Write about how AFSP has provided you with hope and healing, and encourage others to join your journey. The possibilities are endless, and don't forget that you can also customize your URL for your page and make it easier for people to find your page and easier for you to share your page. You can do that by clicking settings. So right here, if you click settings, I hope you guys can see my mouse. If you click settings, that is where you can change your URL. You'll be sharing your personal fundraising page over and over again. Adding a personal touch will keep potential donors on your page longer, and it will increase the chance that they will register or donate. I have a pro tip from one of the fundraisers in Austin, Beth Dowdy. When you're soliciting donations from friends, family, or coworkers, it's important to share why it's important to you. You need a personal hook, something that conveys your passion for the cause. If you simply say something like, "This is a great organization," there are tons of great organizations that also do good things. You need to express more than that. Tell people why AFSP matters to you. Explain why someone should give to AFSP over a number of other great organizations out there. And don't be afraid to share bigger emotions. Your honesty not only helps reduce the stigma surrounding suicide, but it can also make strength, show your strength, how far you've come. Make your ask powerful. Now that we've put together our stories and updated our personal page, let's talk about a plan. Before you get started, it's a good idea to sit down and make a plan, starting by setting your fundraising goal. You want to make sure that your goal is obtainable. Then brainstorm ways that you can reach that goal. Who can you ask? How can you share the message? Next, put your plan in motion. Sooner than you know it, you'll have met your goal and be ready to celebrate. Or you'll raise your goal if you're feeling super motivated and ambitious. But I want to talk a little more about the brainstorming process. I'm going to share 3 of my favorite ways and some of the easiest ways that you can reach your goal to consider. And those are letter writing, Facebook, and third-party fundraisers. Letter writing is exactly what it sounds like, writing a letter to someone and asking them to donate. However, you're not just limited to pen and paper. It can be an email, a text message, or even a social media post. Creating a Facebook fundraiser is one of the easiest and most efficient ways to ask for donations from friends and followers on social media. And then hosting a third-party fundraiser is a way to not only raise money, but raise awareness for the cause. So let's take a closer look at each one of these. For letter writing, you could spend an afternoon writing letters, sending emails or text messages, making phone calls, or reaching out to people directly on social media. Like we mentioned before, make your letters personal and share your story. Include information on AFSP and highlight the work that matters most to you or the person you are asking, like the money that we put towards research or the education we provide for schools. Mention your fundraising goals so that they can see what you're looking to achieve, and don't be afraid to ask for a certain amount. Will you donate $25, $50, $100? If you've made a self-donation, ask them to match what you donated. Show them that you are committed to this cause by being financially invested as well. And finally, send out your letters far and wide. Include friends, family, coworkers, everyone on your holiday card list. The more people you ask, the more donations you'll receive. Now let's talk about Facebook fundraisers. This is a great way to increase your fundraising. Facebook fundraisers are incredibly successful. I've seen so many people raise over $1,000 in less than 24 hours after linking their Facebook to their donor drive profile. I've found that people in my circle are more likely to donate to my Facebook fundraiser because they are able to make their donation very quickly without having to visit a different website. But listen carefully, this is important. As I'm sure you've seen on Facebook, you can create a fundraiser for just about anything directly from Facebook. The site will even prompt you to start a fundraiser if your post includes some keywords. However, starting a fundraiser from Facebook will go directly to the AFSP office in New York and will not link to your Out of the Darkness fundraising page. To ensure that your donations from Facebook make it to your fundraising page, you want to create your fundraiser through your donor drive account. To do this, sign into your account and visit your dashboard. Then you will see an option, right? I have an arrow pointing to it on the screen. You'll see an option that says create a Facebook fundraiser. After clicking this button, you will be directed to sign into Facebook to complete the process. So just to reiterate, if you want your Facebook fundraiser to count towards your Out of the Darkness fundraising, you must start through Donor Drive. Your Facebook fundraiser can be found by your friends on your profile after it's created through Donor Drive, but there are many ways to continue to engage people on your social media platform. You can send a direct invitation to your friends, encouraging them to donate. And when you do that, every time you post in your Facebook fundraiser, those friends that you've invited will get notified. You can make a self-donation, even $5, to show that you are also financially committed to the cause. Reshare to your profile so it will show up in your friends' timelines, especially if it's been a while since you created the fundraiser. Post in the fundraiser with information about AFSP, why you support AFSP, and share your story. When someone donates, dedicate a post to them. Tag them and let them know how grateful you are for their donation. The opportunities to engage and steward donors are endless, making this platform a great way to help you reach your goal. And just a quick plug about the image that you're seeing on the screen. If you aren't aware, next week is National Suicide Prevention Week. And this image is from our Keep Going campaign, which you can find this image as well as images like this one that you can use on your social media at afsp.org/keepgoing. Another pro tip from Amy Grosso: use social media. Amy uses Twitter and Facebook, and she says it's okay to ask more than once. With Facebook fundraisers, Amy will ask 10 friends, can you give me $10 to show they don't need to donate a high dollar amount? She also gives a shout out to thank those who contribute. Not only is a thank you appropriate, but it draws attention to her fundraiser. But if you're not a fan of asking outright for donations, there's a few other ways that you could raise money as well. In my years of working for nonprofits, I've seen a number of different fundraisers, from things that are very extravagant to things that are pretty simple, like a bake sale or a t-shirt sale, or even restaurant percentage nights. Think about what you're good at, what you enjoy, who you're connected to, and think of ways you can harness it to raise money for suicide prevention. If you're good at cooking, host a cooking class or sell pre-made dinners. Maybe you enjoy art. Teach a class or sell your one-of-a-kind art pieces. Are you big into gaming? You can set up a Twitch stream from your donor drive page and take donations while you play. This is something that my husband and I do together every year, and it's really kind of fun. If you're a big sports fan, consider hosting a sports trivia night or sell some squares for a football pool. And talk to your local restaurants and gift shops and ask if they'll donate a percentage of sales for the day. There are several businesses out there who already have charity programs in place. You just have to ask about them. That being said, we know that many fundraising ideas are made difficult during this time of social distancing, but it's not impossible. There are many ways to host successful events virtually, and here are a few of my favorites that I've seen since COVID-19. You could host a virtual bingo night using myfreebingocards.com to call the game and check player cards. You could ask people to donate $10 for a card, or you could give them 3 cards for $25. If you like Zumba or yoga, you could do a workout class and host it over Zoom. You could host a virtual trivia night or a virtual game night. If you're celebrating a milestone like a birthday or an anniversary, you could throw a party virtually over Zoom and ask for donations in lieu of gifts. One of my friends did this and asked for a whatever you can donate, and she raised over $1,000 in a day for people to just join her on Zoom for her birthday. You could set a challenge. I had another friend of mine, she posted to Facebook that if she could raise $500 over the weekend, she would pie her husband in the face on Facebook Live while he wore a tutu in their front yard. And she raised over $1,000 in a day. You can also use your pets. If you haven't seen my Facebook page, my cat Optimus, he is raising money for the Austin Walk, and he actually just had to increase his fundraising. He reached his $250 goal, and so he is increasing his fundraising to $300. Plan something that you would want to attend if you were invited. Big or small, it all makes a difference. So let's talk about asking for donations. It can be intimidating to ask somebody for a donation. We know that there is still a stigma around suicide and mental health, and regardless of how comfortable you are talking about this, you might still be apprehensive about broaching the subject with certain people. I want to encourage you to reach out, even if you're nervous, even if you assume someone isn't connected to suicide, reach out, because chances are they are connected to our mission. When I started working with AFSP, I opened up a lot of dialogue about suicide and mental health with my family and friends. People I had known for years, and in some cases, some people I had known my whole life, were survivors of suicide loss and had lived experience. Connections I didn't know about until my work with AFSP pushed me to start having these conversations. Having a real convo with someone may not only help you build your team, but it can help you feel seen and even get connected to support. We also know that 90% of Americans value mental health and physical health equally. So even if you reach out to someone that doesn't have a connection to suicide, chances are mental health is still important to them. You can start with family, friends, coworkers. You may be surprised once you start asking. I remember last year, I got a $50 donation from a guy in high school that I hadn't talked to since high school. And ask directly. We know the power that social media has. We absolutely encourage you to post and post often, encouraging people to make donations. But sometimes it's important to make a direct ask. Ask for donations by sending a text message, a quick email, or even directly tagging them in a social media post like this one here. People get busy, especially right now, so sending a little reminder can be helpful. Whether you're asking people to join a team, if you're a part of a team, or if you're asking them for a donation, don't be afraid to ask more than once. Ask often. Studies have shown that on average, people need to see the message 5 times before they take action. So speak up and be the voice for suicide prevention. And since we talked about asking coworkers, don't forget to ask your employer either. Did you know that many companies have matching gift programs for employees who have made a contribution to a nonprofit organization? Matching gifts are a great opportunity to further the impact of your donation to AFSP. These companies may double or even triple the amount of your original gift, and some even match gifts for spouses or retired employees. Participating or volunteering in an AFSP event may also qualify for a grant for some employers. To see if your employer will match your donation, visit afsp.org/match-your-gift to search our database or contact your HR representative. You can always reach out to your area director if you have any questions about matching gifts. And while we're on matching gifts, Scott Forcell, who as of last night is the top fundraiser for the Austin Experience, uses matching gifts to boost his fundraising every year. And he doesn't just ask his company, he asks his donors to ask their companies. He noticed that in the thank you note that goes to his donors, that there is a link there from AFSP talking about matching gifts, but he tailors it, especially if he knows that they work for a large company. And always, always, always remember that every dollar counts. If it's $1 or if it's $1,000, every donation that someone makes to your fundraising will help AFSP save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. So to make things easier on you, we have provided a ton of resources right at your fingertips. The Participant Hub should be your best friend, aside of course from Sarah, Cami, and me. On the Participant Hub, there are multiple social share graphics for your use, including honor bead graphics and donation graphics. We have images for Instagram stories, graphics where you can type in your own story or message, and profile frames for Facebook. These customizable graphics are quick and easy ways to share your why, especially if you're not ready to share it publicly or not ready to share the full story. There's messages in these graphics that are done for you. So I've got another pro tip from Jamie Yarborough in the Houston area. Jamie is using email signatures to let people that she emails know that she's fundraising. You can use the graphics on social media, but think outside the box. Think of other ways to share them. I've also heard of people using the graphics to make business cards that they keep with them and pass out whenever the right opportunity comes along. Speaking of cards, just for being here tonight, we're going to send you a packet of these Lifesaver Guide wallet cards. You can use these to help tell people your why, or include them in a thank you note to your donors. Be on the lookout for an email from me asking for your mailing address so that I can mail you a packet of 25 of these Lifesaver Guides for your use. So I've got one last pro tip from Haley Elander. This is her actually first time fundraising for AFSP, and she's one of the top fundraisers in the Austin Walk already. She uses her network. She emails, texts, Instagram, and Facebook posts with easy calls to action. She includes links to tell the story of AFSP, and she tells her story. She brings people together. She notifies people when there are events coming up for AFSP so that she can show them that she's involved and she would like to encourage them to get involved too. Keep an open mind and stay positive and have the stats. When you're encouraging others to help, they like to know the details. Be clear on the intentions of the program and stats on how their involvement can help today. And those wallet cards will help you have those stats right at the tip of your fingers. So we've talked about a lot, and I hope I've gotten some of you thinking about ways that you can incorporate fundraising. But please don't feel overwhelmed or that you're behind, because no matter how much you've raised, no matter what your goal is, you are an invaluable piece to this AFSP puzzle. Together, we can save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Before we get into Q&A, I wanted to mention some upcoming events that our chapters are hosting. Even if the event is being hosted by another chapter than your own, you're still welcome and encouraged to join. I mentioned this already, but we will be hosting free virtual Talk Saves Lives every Thursday at noon this month. And then next week is National Suicide Prevention Week. That's September 6th through the 12th. Our national team will be hosting a variety of events and activations during this week. The South Texas chapter is hosting a Resiliency Amidst the Pandemic, a virtual conference with a full slate of speakers. The North Texas chapter has 2 yoga and self-care classes, one in the evening on the 9th and one in the morning on the 10th. And on September 10th, the Texas chapters combined will host a virtual candle lighting for World Suicide Prevention Day on Facebook. And then this is not in September, so I didn't put it on this slide, but Central Texas does have a painting class on October 7th that anyone's welcome to attend. I'll include information on these events in my email that I send you tomorrow morning, but also be sure to watch your chapter's events on their website and Facebook page for more events that are being posted. Okay, so now it's time to answer questions. If you have any questions that you haven't already put in the chat box, please feel free to do so, or you can come off mute. But before I take down the slides, I want to share the contact information for myself and Sarah and Cami. If you have any questions or need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out to your area director. I'll leave this here for a second while we start to answer questions. Do we have any questions in the chat? Does anyone have some fundraising things that have been successful for them that they'd like to come off mute and share?
I would like to put TJ Burns on the spot. He is so awesome at fundraising in general, but I think he does a really great job with his Facebook fundraiser. So TJ, if you would be willing just to share a couple of tips or how you find success with Facebook fundraisers.
Sure. I just think that the key is posting a combination of personal stats and AFSP literature, or the social media posts that you can pull off the website or their national posts. So I like to post like a story and a picture at the same time. And I feel like those get by far the most responses. I like to print off the like hope little pictures and put a little hope message, and then post a picture of myself with the hope message. So that'll get usually the most hits. If anyone likes my post, I message them directly. So anyone who hits the like button is automatically getting a message from me. They're definitely going to get a personal reach out for a donation. That usually works. Again, you probably have to ask 4 or 5, sometimes 6 times. The point is to be persistent but not annoying. Some people can get annoyed if it's too much in their face. So what I like to do is I like to post in the morning, and then by mid-afternoon, I delete it and post the exact same thing. So I copy and paste what I wrote. I delete it, put the same picture, and then by dinner time, I do the same thing. I delete the post and I post identical. So throughout the day, everyone's seeing the same post, but they're not going to see it on their feed multiple times. So they're going to think that I'm posting the one time. So it's me being persistent, but they don't really realize that I'm also being annoying at the same time. Those are the things that work for me. Usually every walk I raise close to $3,000 for pretty much everything. The overnight I usually get to like $4,000 or $5,000, and it's pretty much all through social media. I don't do anything else outside. I send emails, but I find that emails don't work because you can get buried in their like just work emails or whatever, or fantasy football, their spam, who knows. I think emails aren't super effective, but the Facebook fundraiser is an unbelievable tool.
Are there any other ideas that people would like to share?
You know, when we had our call on Tuesday, Jolene, I think it might have been you. It could have been someone else, so I apologize if I speak out of turn, but someone mentioned putting up like a change jar, a coin jar at their work, and those always do really well. A couple of people came on and said, like another person that I have in Dallas, at the Dallas Walk, they put coin jars all around their office and just kind of collect people's change as they have it. And that, it's pretty impressive how quick change can really add up. And, you know, like Jane said, whether it's $1 or $1,000, it's all going to do life-saving work. So if a coin jar gets you like $20 in 2 months, like that's $20 more than we had when we started.
Yes, this is Jolene. I did mention that because my son, where he worked, his coworkers put together a jar and raised almost $500 to support the Out of Darkness Walk last year. So it's very successful.
But more than anything else, I know the kickoff was really fundraising heavy, but I don't want you to lose sight of where Jane talked a lot about sharing your story, because I know that's the biggest piece. That's why people get involved with AFSP. That's why people get involved with the Out of the Darkness, with the things that we're doing, is because of the connection. And it is, you know, for a lot of people, it's an important part of their grief journey and the healing process. So whereas the fundraising is definitely very important because that's how we continue to do our work, don't lose sight of just how important sharing your story and sending those messages of hope is. It's so important to me and Jane and just to AFSP as a whole, because starting, you know, TJ talks about posting these things on Facebook. He's not just fundraising, he's also sharing his story, sharing messages of hope, and potentially providing hope to someone else that needs it. So just don't lose sight, or don't think that your story is any less important than someone else's, or lose sight of it, because sharing your story and sharing the work of AFSP is just as important as the fundraising work that you're doing, for sure.
Yeah, and while we're talking about sharing your story, I want to say too, I know that sharing your story, especially if it's a new loss, or this is something, maybe you haven't had a loss, you're doing this for yourself, either you've had an attempt or you just have a mental health condition and you're passionate about bringing awareness to mental health. If this is one of your first times getting involved with this, it can be scary to share your story. And I encourage you to practice. I encourage you to write it down before you put yourself out there and make sure that you're confident. But I will tell you, when you're ready and when you feel like you have it drafted well, sharing your story can be very rewarding and overwhelming in a positive way. The number of people who show you support after you reach out and let them know that this is important to me because it's personal and this is why. And you don't have to share the details if you don't want to, and you don't have to share much at all if you're not comfortable sharing a lot. But I think you'll be surprised if you haven't shared your story. You'll be very surprised about the support that you get from your friends. Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions or ideas that people want to share, then we may just give you guys 15 minutes of your time back. I don't know if everyone's eaten dinner yet, but if you haven't eaten dinner, we'll give you 15 minutes of your time back to go eat or self-care, turn off and take care of yourself for a little while. Sarah and I sat through a self-care series this morning, and so that's kind of my word today, is self-care. All right, well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.